back to Raising Real Estate Standards. Hope you guys are doing well. Get this question a lot of times this time of year. It's, early February. Even get these questions, the end of the year. But as our market is cyclical and starts to slow down a little bit, we find ourselves wanting to know either A, where's my next piece of business going to come from because I'm getting anxiety, or what should I do with my time to make sure that my business is prepared for next year. So today on this episode, we're going to kind of go through some of the things that you can do with a little bit of downtime and how do you maximize your what you're putting into your business versus having that additional time for TV and binge watching on Netflix.
Yeah, these aren't things that like you're only going to do during the downtime, but these are things that you should be doing throughout the year. You just have more time during this time, so it's good to get back. Put some emphasis on that. It's things that you may not do when you're super busy in your business. Focusing on your clients, showing homes, listing, all that. But you need to do this to continue to grow your business.
Absolutely. So let's kick it off. So, as we're looking at on the professional side, where our business is coming from, it's coming from a few buckets. One is going to be your sphere of influence, which, let's just be honest, mostly 70 to 80% of your business will probably come from that for most agents. And then you have purchase business. If you're buying leads or you're in that game of whether it's buying leads or paying referral fees to companies that are sending you ready to go leads. And then you have direct marketing. So going out to and trying to acquire new clients as you go along. So if you're looking at your where these three buckets of business are coming from, 70 to 80% comes from your sphere of influence. Mm-hmm. So I would say that starting with that slow time, focusing on your database, focusing on your people, figuring out how to re-engage, how to set forth a plan to maximize the business that would come from your sphere of influence.
Yeah, and probably the first thing you need to do, and again, you should be doing this throughout the year, but is to always kind of refresh and reorganize your sphere of influence in your database. I mean, because it's always changing. Where somebody may be a high priority, or let's call them an A client, they may slip. And they may fall out of your database. They may have met someone else that's helping them now, that's representing them now, and there's things that can happen. Hopefully, you're going to have more times where you've got people in there that are lower priority, and throughout the year you've developed this relationship, and they've really started sending you referrals and focusing on being an advocate for your business. So you want to pump them up. So really just going down your list of relationships and reorganizing and re-putting in there like the
reclassification.
There you go. I was trying to get the word out. Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, this is something for those that have sat down and done a coaching session with Brian and I. When we first set up a long-term plan, that is the number one thing that we key on. The first thing we ask is, do you have a database? Most of them are like, yes. Well, let's look at your database. Do you know who your people are? Have you set forth those classifications and ranking them? And a lot of people spend a lot of time on the front end when they're first doing this. They spend a massive amount of time, and then they don't touch it again. Mm-hmm. And that's an important piece of this is that your database, your sphere of influence is living and breathing. People are moving in, people are moving out. Your relationships are enhancing. You've got relationships that are not enhancing and that may need to come out of your database. And it's important to stop, take a look at it, and do a reevaluation. I would argue you probably need to do this on a quarterly basis, but at bare minimum every year you need to be re-looking and making sure that your people are your people, because at the end of the day, you got a database of 200, 300 people. Out of that 200, 300 people, you're going to find that maybe 10, 8 are going to be the ones that are going to be really the ones providing you the mass majority of your referral-based leads from that group. And it's important to know who those people are, identify them, segment them out, because you need to make sure that you're in flow with those people every month. They need to hear from you. Your advocates, your people that are working for you out in the general public, they need to hear from you. They need to know you're there, and you need to be intentional about staying in contact with them. And if you don't relook at your database, you may be missing some people.
Yeah, and that's something else to do kind of during this time is make sure you're evaluating your systems that you currently have, some of your points of touch that you're having with these relationships, kind of like your phone calls, your pop buys, your handwritten notes, all that kind of stuff. If you've got a goal to do so many of them, you want to relook at that. Say, hey, do I need to bump it up a little bit to meet my goals? Do I need to, if I'm not meeting these numbers, do I need to take them down a little bit? And look at that. And with this time, actually do those things that you've set out to do. Actually do those personal notes. Actually do those calls. And then planning your events. This is a really, really good time to plan your events.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but your sphere of influence, to really pull out the maximum number of leads or referrals from your sphere of influence, you need to be having contact with those people 36 times a year plus, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of difficult. That's like, Mark, that's 3 times a month. I can't do that. Yes, you can. You have to have a system in place to be able to do that, and then you also have to be able to scale those conversations. And as you're taking the time to reevaluate your relationships, look at your database, put your plan in place, I encourage you to explore the idea of a client gathering, bringing your entire database to a singular event that they come to you. That's scalable. You don't have to go 20 different places. You don't have to go to all these people. They're going to come to you, and you're going to be able to pull a lot of that. So I encourage you guys to go through that process of setting up a client event this year. 2 to 4 a year is a fantastic number. So encourage you guys to plan that during this downtime.
Yeah, and something else you can do too is kind of honing in your skills. Honing in what you're doing out there, this is a great time to focus on that. And one thing you could do is kind of like strengthening the way you're engaging with your clients and your prospects. So what are some things we could talk about from that standpoint? You could talk about sharing market insights, maintenance advice. You can give them all kinds of ideas. You are the hub, essentially, of the entire real estate business, and there's actually so much you can talk about. And it's so funny how people are like, "Well, I need to make this call, but I'm not sure what I'm going to say to them."
Yeah, you have like a million things to say to them. I mean, as you're growing your relationships with individuals, they need to know you like them. They need to like you. They need to trust you, which means they need to know that you're competent in what you do. And how do you articulate those things? Providing them information about the market. That shows your competency. That shows that you're in the business. You know what you're doing. It's not just by the fly. So those are important things to be putting out there in front of your people so they can consume it. But then just how are you doing? What's going on? How's your family? Your kids in college? My God, how'd those first 2 years go? Those are conversations that grow the like. Yeah. Then you go the trust through the competency piece, and it's all of those things. And while it seems very basic, and it is very basic, most people aren't intentional about how they're getting there. And so you put those things in place. And these are things that you can set in play for an entire year. Our business doesn't change a ton. Yes, there's some tweaks that goes on, but for the most part, our business is pretty static when it comes to what we do, how we do it, and how people navigate this complex transaction.
Yeah, and I want to say too, one of the things you can really get some good information is if you actually listen to them. Like if you have this conversation, get in this conversation with a client, and maybe ask some questions. they're going to give you answers. This is developing your relationship with them, and actively listening to them. You're going to be able to probably solve a problem or fix an issue, give a solution to an issue that they may have. So just actively listening instead of just going and bombarding them with a sales pitch.
Absolutely. All right, so let's switch gears for a second. All right, so we have beat this dead horse of staying in flow with your clients, and it was number one thing that we talked about because it's the most important. That was very purposeful on our side. So you're staying in flow. You're reevaluating your database. Now, we need to sharpen our lead generation skills, our communication skills, our strategies, our content, how we're going to be at it. So let's talk about, what you've got your people, they know your people, they're now referring you someone who doesn't know you. So now you've got to, we're going to hone in our marketing, because in today's world, a referral, one of your sphere is going to refer a client to you. They're going to mention your name. Do you think they're picking up the phone and calling you right away? The answer is no, they're not. They're going online and they're going to be looking at you. They're going onto your social media page. They're going onto your website. They're going to look at your reviews, and they're going to really, do some diligence before they even pick up the phone, because they want to know who they're talking to.
Yep.
Even though they've got this great referral, they still want to know who they're talking to, what their personal brand is. So making sure that you are going through and looking at those public-facing items and making sure that's what you want consumers to consume, what referrals that don't know you yet are going to consume after they've been referred to you. So going onto your social media profiles, going onto your websites, making sure those things are all in line and are putting forth that out there. Right now is a great time to do that. Right now is a great time to really go in and enhance those marketing channels. And for those that were like, well, what do I put out there? What's the content that I can put out there? You have the personal stuff. I know you do. I know you're putting your family and what you're eating and pictures of mashed potatoes or something that looks awful on a plate. That's fine and that's great. Your vacations are all out there. All that's fantastic. You're doing that phenomenally. Where people struggle is that competency content. How does it show that they know that they are a good real estate agent and they're doing that? So that can come in the form of recording videos. We record our podcast and we put it out there. Recording videos and educational items of what your clients are going through, things that are how they navigate those things. Update your website. There's nothing worse than going to a website that the marketing or the bio looks like it was written in 1983. So first things first.
Or the picture.
That's a problem I don't know that we're going to solve, where agents will update their photographs. I'm not sure that anybody's going to solve that problem. That's been an age-old problem for years. But at least update your bio. Go in there, rewrite it. For God's sakes, the tools that we have today to be able to take what you wrote in 1983, throw it into an AI content creation platform. I'm going to mention one here that is widely used, and that's Claude. Claude is a phenomenal AI tool to be able to take what you've written and just hone it down and make it just pop even more. Those are things that you can do right now when you're slow, and it makes you look professional. That way, when the business starts flowing in and they're looking at you on your personal persona and your personal profiles and those public-facing stuff, that you're putting yourself out there how you want to be received.
Yep. So I want to talk a little bit about what probably the least popular thing to talk about during this time is, and that's, kind of your financial and, getting all that stuff in line. Right now is a great time to look back at last year, look at your expenses, look where you spent your money, and analyze your return on your investment there. I mean, were you spending money and getting a return on that? Or were you just spending money on something because, it felt good, it looked really good, or somebody sold me on something at the time? That's really important to focus on. You need to look at your budget, you need to tighten your budget, and you need to optimize your cash flow. You have a good idea of what you are probably going to bring in this year. If you don't have any idea, look at last year. look at last year. If you're going to do the same thing, it should be right around the same amount. It's going to come to you. You got to go out and do things, but it should be around the same amount. If you're going to up your, if you want to up this amount, you need to up what you're doing in your lead generation. So, look at all this stuff. Another thing you can do is, some of you are at the point where you can start looking at, what do I do with this excess money that I have coming in? And start planning for your investments. You've heard us talk about what's one of the best things you can do as a real estate agent to provide for your future. And that's investing in what you know and investing in some other real estate like rental real estate or things like that. So look at the opportunities that are out there from that standpoint. And really, we're focused on developing a business model at this point. So as you're analyzing all this, make sure you're putting this in your model so it makes sense. And if you have any questions on this, let us know. We're not going to have all the time to go into business models right now, but we would love to get into that at some point.
Absolutely, and a business with no plan and no logical model is a business that is being dictated by the market. Mm-hmm. Markets go up and down, and if you want to be in business in a down market, then you have to have a plan. If you want to be in business in a phenomenal market, you just get in it. Mm-hmm. Market will bring you up. Market will pay you. But if you're really in this for the long haul, you have to have plans in place, scale those, and they have to be. You have to look on those business models and just make sure that they make sense, that they're going to produce year after year, mm-hmm. And that the time that you're putting in today, a lot of times doesn't return an investment for 12 months in this business. You have to put those plans, and it has to be able to be repeatable and provide that return as you've been talking about year after year. All right. So we've gone through and we've talked about the professional development. These are things that you can spend time on when you're a little bit slower. Things that you need to allocate time for, even when things are busy. But the thing that a lot of people fail to really hone in on is their personal development. Mm-hmm. Working on yourself, making sure that you are in the right frame of mind to be able to execute on all of the things that we just talked about and all the things that you want to do on the daily basis. Because we all know that if we go into, when we start a day, if we're down, if the day has just kicked us in the shin at 8 o'clock in the morning, we know at about noon that this day was a wash. I didn't get anything accomplished because I've just been in a down place. So it's important to make sure that you're honing in on your own personal self, your own mental health, your own passions, and to help motivate you so that when you get out there, that you're operating at a 10 versus at a 2. Mm-hmm. So let's kind of walk through some of those things, and some of the things that we've put into place, you've put into place. Building a mental resilience to life that's going to throw you curveballs as it does on the daily. I'm going to lean into you, Brian. You have done something and you have implemented this into your life for a number of years. And I want you to kind of walk through how you start your day. What do you start your day with?
Yeah, so that's one of the greatest things is, I have a early morning kind of routine that I get into. I will start by doing some meditation and some reflection. I'll do some reading. From there, I do some Bible reading and some Bible study, and then I'll get into I read a lot of Stoic information. I love the Stoic. I love Holiday and his books and everything that he has to deliver out there. But then also part of that is also exercising. Having that time to exercise. But I package all that together. It takes me about an hour and a half to do in the morning. But if I don't do that, I am not the same person. And that is a great way for me to get my mind in shape to take on the rest of the day. Because let's just be honest. Days aren't easy these days. So something, and I'm not even talking about the market. I'm just talking about, where we are kind of in life sometimes, it's going to bring you challenges, and you got to be able to have the courage to get over that challenge.
Absolutely. You know, you walk out the door and it's like you're in a defensive place when as you close your garage door, or you close your car door heading in to start the day, and you're in a defensive mode right off the bat, because the world is not there handing you stuff on a silver platter. It's actually trying to take your silver platter and throw it on the ground and hit you over the head with it. And so to be able to have your mindset to be able to deal with those, to where it doesn't consume you, and you're able to take those blows and brush them off to move forward, to make sure that you do the things that you said you wanted to do. It's super important. So as you're going through that, and I have started doing that, and I kudos to you for beating me over the head and telling me I should be doing this for years, and I've been doing it since January 1, and it has been a phenomenal enhancement to my days. And as we whirl through the next part of personal development, some of the things that we need to look at is not just our first starting routines. Let's start at our weekly routines. What are we doing? How are we spending our time? What are we doing to make sure, where are we getting beaten down? And then prioritizing that time. And then how to get rid of those distractions.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, just having some kind of management over your time is going to help you minimize the distractions. So we need to focus on this at this time, is putting that time management in place. You know, start with the big rocks, work your way down to the little ones. Maybe even start with your year. You know, what are the big things that have to go into your calendar in the year? You have big personal stuff that you need to plug in there. You have then look at your business stuff. You know, I need to plan some of these larger events that I'm going to do. I need to put those in, and then fill in around it. Look at your weekly schedule. How many contacts are you making on a weekly basis to get to your goals that you're looking at? And then drill it all the way down to your daily. This is when I'm going to do this during the day. This is when I'm going to do this. You know, and you throw in your personal stuff. Like we talked about, my first thing that I invest my time in every day is myself and my Bible reading. And that is, I mean, I can't say enough of that. When I put my first into that, the remainder is so much more. I can get so much more out of it.
Absolutely. So as you're working on yourself, you've got your times allocated. You've done your morning routines. You've done whatever's going to set you up to win the day. Now, what are we going to do to expand our minds, expand our mindset, get us on that platform? And this is, you know, allocating some times that you're putting into you the good stuff, right? So we all know that you eat well, it's gonna help you in your life and your stress level and things of that nature. That also goes true for what you're putting into your head, what you're consuming. If all you're consuming is what the public wants to give you, which is sensationalized news and all the negative things that sell, if that's all that you're mentally consuming, then that's going to be what's going to feed you, right? Yep. So you've got to be intentional about feeding yourself some good stuff, right? So what does that look like? I think that looks like reading leadership books, whether it is real estate related, not real estate related, folks with a positive mindset, and, consuming that knowledge, consuming those words on the paper is only going to enhance how you walk, how you get up, how you approach all the difficult things in life. So make sure that those things are in there. What else can you do to help expand your knowledge, skill set, and mindset?
Well, so I want to go back to me. I'm with you. I think reading is the absolute number one thing you can do there. And I will challenge you all that I read a book a long time ago called The Millionaire Mindset by Dr. I think it was John Stanley. But anyway, he says the average millionaire, now this was written back in the 80s, so millionaires back then are like billionaires and, almost trillionaires now, I guess. But it was the average millionaire read 12 books a year, okay? So you think about that, and it sounds hard, but really you can read one book in a month. It doesn't have to be real estate books or personal growth books. What I do is I read all those, but then every now and then I'm going to throw in an entertaining book. I love Star Wars, and I'll throw in Star Wars books on there. But I focus on getting to that 12. I've actually got it built up to 24 a year now. So do that, get in that habit. It's another habit to do. Some other things you can do is you can attend like trainings and webinars. Excuse me. You can there's other events you can go to, all kinds of coaching events out there that will really help you hone in on your skill set and build what you're trying to build. Another thing is coaching. We've hit on coaching, I don't know how long. I mean, that's one of our biggest things.
Every 2 weeks we get on here and we start spouting off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, coaching is super important. If you don't invest in that, whether it is dollars, whether it is dollars and time, whether it's just time, whatever it is, investing in finding that person who you respect, who you lean on to, who's going to be able to tell you to quit being an idiot and to send you in another direction. It's important for you to invest into someone who is investing in you, right? Because their goal is to see you get the most out of who you are, and they can see the world at a 30,000-foot view with you in it based on your life to help you, guide you, to get you to where you want to be. So yes, seeking mentorship and coaching is a huge part of this and an ongoing way, and it's a place to release when you have that bad day or that shitty thing that just happened to you. The ability for you to release, vent, them to consume it, and then be able to set you on a right way so you're not just going to vent to the world. And a lot of times when we vent to the world, good things don't happen.
Yep.
So, as you go through it, you've nailed in. You're feeding yourself this good stuff. You're ingesting positivity and growth into your mind, into your heart and your soul. The next thing that is super important with this time is you. What you want to be perceived as, your personal brand. And I'm going to kind of bring it back down to also what you want your consumers to see of you. And a lot of that is giving back, right? Your community needs you, and you need your community. And so you need to invest back into your community. What does that look like? That looks like volunteering. That looks like engaging with various community groups. And so where are you going to go out and find those things? They're everywhere. And do it selflessly. While you may get something out of it, that can't be the reason you go into it.
Right.
And because it will be written across your face, it'll be written across your heart and your words when you're engaging. And, life is better when you're giving back.
Yeah. It's always hard to explain this from the giving back standpoint because you don't want to get into giving back in order to get something in return. So you have to go in it with the mindset as I'm giving back to give back.
Correct.
But I've never seen a situation where that was the case, that the person or whatever didn't get something back 1, 10, 100-fold. It always comes back, but that's not why you do it. But understand that does happen.
It's a byproduct.
It's a byproduct. Bingo.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you don't go in expecting it. More importantly, you don't go in knowing what the return's going to be.
Yeah.
We're business people. We're talking about real estate. We're talking about financial. A lot of people, well, what's the financial? Sometimes returns are not financial in nature.
Right. And sometimes you don't see them right away.
Right. And so, but it's important that you go and you give back, because that's ultimately what's going to be the lasting impression that you leave on this world is how did you make it better? What did you do to make this place that you took from and that you leaned into? How did you make it better than what you found it? So, guys, this time of year, times when they're slow, there are 1,001 things that you can do to help better yourself, prepare for growth, feed your mind the good stuff, give back. All of this stuff can be done, and it's probably something as you do this that you can intentionally do even when you are busy and you're in the throes of life. So take the time to put these things into your world. Encourage you to go through this. Take a couple of takeaways from what we've gone over. You know, as we always say when I go to a conference, you know, or listen to a great speaker, they're going to throw a lot of stuff at you, and if you try to do everything, sometimes it's paralysis by analysis type situation. Take one or two things and let's dig in. This year is going to be a good year.
Yep.
Feed yourself the good stuff, and be prepared to take your business to heights that you didn't know that existed.
You control your business, so know that.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and we will see you next time.